Snyder here. It is today, the 27th of June, 2016, and it is a warm day in California today, boy. So I have the fan on next to me. If there's any wind noise in the microphone, I apologize for that. Okay, so logic, basically logic. This is the first definition I think fits best. A proper, reasonable, becoming proper eventually. Okay, proper or reasonable way of thinking about or understanding something. Okay, so that fits logic in my sense of logic there. Okay, so let's go to Google Earth. I want to show you some of the. The moon is right there. We can see the moon, right? We can see the moon. And this all started. These overlays that I do all started with that video on YouTube. Actually, it's from a history channel called How the Earth Was Made, and there's a episode where they talk about the deepest place on the Earth, right, which is right here, the Marianas Trench. And I was watching it one day, and the first time I noticed it, they show what they're talking about 7 minutes into the video. If you watch it, about 7 minutes into the video, they say it remained a mystery to this day, or something like that. What created the trench? And then they show a picture of the moon for no reason. They just show the moon, right? Here they are talking about the deepest place on the Earth, and they show a picture of the moon. Just for like 2 seconds they show it, right? And then they go back to the ocean and show the ocean. Well, that got me thinking right from the start. The first time I seen it, I didn't do anything. I didn't act on it. But the second time I seen it, I had to act on it. You know what I mean? So I got on Google Earth and I looked at the Marianas Trench, and before that, I never really paid attention to the pattern around the outside, how circular this pattern was. This being right in the middle, the deepest place on Earth. And I'm thinking, wow, why? That must be why they showed the moon. And you start thinking about it. The moon's right there. They talk about how a Mars-sized planet hit the Earth to create the moon, and they say that it came from the Pacific, the area of the Pacific, and it just starts to get your brain going. And anybody that thinks logically would think that that's logical. I mean, you got a magnetic Earth, and they say that the moon's not that magnetic. I don't believe any of the things they say about things that they don't know, because they don't know. They've never landed on the moon, so they don't know what I'm sure they know how magnetic it is, but they never landed on the moon. They don't give us. They say it's not magnetic, but logic tells me that it is magnetic. Whenever they say something's not something, it is something. Okay, so that's just the way they are. And then right after I noticed this circle, this pattern here, it's about the size of the moon, but it turns out later that it's not actually the size of the impact that calculates the actual size of the moon. The moon, this circular pattern here, I noticed a couple days later. And I've seen it all my life on the globe. When you're in school, you see that you don't even think about that big circular pattern, what creates that big circle right there. And that is an absolute perfect circle on the Earth, right here. And I've never questioned it until this. So anyways, that set me on the path right there, watching that video, How the Earth Was Made. Since then, or after that, I started doing overlays, Basically, before the overlays, I was just measuring things. I would just measure, go back and forth between the moon and the Earth and look at it, because I didn't know how to do the overlays yet. Then I started doing the overlays, and you got to flip the moon over before you overlay it on the Earth. And so I started in this area, of course. You got the big circular patterns, and Africa's a good place to start too. Africa was good. It showed a lot more back then. Anyways, when I first started doing it, Google Earth was so pixelated. They were hiding all kinds of stuff with the pixelation that they had on Google Earth, and that's I kind of felt that's what it was. Why they had the pixelation, because that they have images. The government has images, satellite images of the Earth that are perfect. They don't have to have the pixelation in there. And I would ask why is the pixelation there, and people would say, oh, it's the stitching together of the bullshit. Then they have a few different versions, and this is the latest version of Google Earth, and they went from a couple different ones to finally come to this where they blend all the details in, and you don't really get to see any of the real patterns that would show much, the craters and things. But anyways, greatest hits of the Earth. It might take me a while to find some of these in my list here, but I'm going to go up to one that's important. I don't know how far up it is, but well, it's further than this. Okay. I guess. Maybe I'm too far. Yeah, I think I am. Okay, so just bear with me here. We're going to get there. Oh, let's see. Mo. Which one's this? Okay, so it's down further. Must be. I started on this grouping of overlays a couple years ago, probably 2 years ago now. We can see the Eye of Horus. Want to see the Eye of Horus one? We should see that. That's the greatest hits one. Okay, so this is Mare Moscovians. I've been showing this a lot lately in videos. This is the Sea of Moscow, they call it. You know, if you were to translate the Mare Moscovians, it translates to Sea of Moscow. And there's a reason why they call it Sea of Moscow. You know, you just got to think logically. Why would they call that the Sea of Moscow? What's it have to do with Moscow? So what you do is you just flip this image over and you take it over to Moscow, and basically what you'll see in the weather at times, and not anymore. They don't show the weather patterns that good anymore. They've downgraded it, like I pointed out. But if you look, turn the borders on. The borders give you something. They give you a clue. You see, like how these borders right here form this circular pattern right here, this big circle. That gives you a clue. And then you just look above that and you see this here, Norway and all that, or whatever it is. You see the circle and then this, and you go back to the crater and you see a big circle. This is kind of odd shape because it's stretched out longer than it should be or whatever, but that's because I have it aligned to this okay, so, hold on, we're going to get there right here. Okay, so this is a weather pattern that shows in the Pacific Ocean at a certain time of year. This shows quite a bit as an eye shape, right? Looks like an eye. That's the Eye of Horus. And this pattern comes from this crater here that I just showed you. Watch. It comes from this crater right here. It comes from this crater. You can totally see. I got other pictures of it too that should show it better. I don't, maybe. This is what Google Moon gives you. See, that's how the picture looks on Google Moon of this crater here. that tells you a lot too. Is what Google Moon shows you is garbage. That they don't want you to do this because they give you this overlay, accessory on here. They don't want you doing this. But anyways, I had another image of the weather here that was better, I thought. But that's where that comes from. And you see, like if you look at the picture of the Eye of Horus, how it has the cobra that comes out of the corner of the eye. And I have a picture of that somewhere, but and I have to show it because otherwise the video will not be right if I don't show it. I've got to show it. So we've got to find it. It shouldn't be far. Should not be far away. Let's see. Or maybe it's in here. All maps. And then there's a folder. In today's clips, maybe. I think it's in here. Right here. Okay. Open. Okay, see how it's got the eye? Okay, then it's got this curl that comes around this way, and then here's the cobra that comes out of the corner of the eye, comes out, and here this is the king cobra, because it's wearing the crown. See, the king cobra. But it comes out and it loops up like this, and you can see that in this weather pattern. See the eye? And then it comes down like this, and you see how it comes up, and then it widens out like a cobra does. And then it gets more interesting. Is this area on the moon, right in this area where the king cobra is, there's a crater called King Crater. Right in this area of the king cobra. So it puts that together in a weird way, but it makes sense because here you see the Eye of Horus. Here's that part that curls around like I pointed out. And then right out of the corner of the eye, there comes the cobra. And you can see it come down and up. And on Google Moon, you will not be able to see it really clear, but you can see the curve from the corner of that crater. You can see this curve that comes up like this. And then the king crater is right in here on the moon. Okay, so that's, let me show you that picture of this again, I guess. It's in here. You can see right here, there's this curve right in here, and this is, like I said, this is Google Moon. They will not give you the accurate surface. You have to go other places to get it. This other image is from another NASA site or something like that, but it's right here. It comes out of the corner and loops around. This is a flipped over image of the moon. It comes out, widens out, and up here, right in here somewhere, there's a crater called King Crater, and it doesn't show it well here, so you have to go check that out yourself. Look into that. So there's the Eye of Horus, comes from there. There's the Cobra, looks like a cobra. Okay, so there you go. That's that. Get past that one. Okay, let's get to something. No, I think. Oh, here it comes. I think. Okay, here, now we're in the right section. Okay, so here we go. This is the lunar South Pole, flipped over backwards, overlaid down here by New Zealand and Australia right here. This is, and look how big it is. This shows they're all consistently big when I fit these on the Earth. Now you can see right here, there's like an impact circular pattern right here. It's like a circular pattern right there. Okay. Well, we don't need to worry about that. I'm just going to show you the greatest hits, basically. I'm not going to try and explain how it happens. I'm just going to show you the alignments. How about that? That'd be better. I won't take up your whole day. Okay, so this I call Badass. This is a typhoon from 2014. It was the September 14th and 15th or something like that. It was near China, like this. And I show this all the time. This is one of my better ones. But this is, I've seen this year. This has already been, I've already done an overlay of this pattern. They don't give you the typhoon part anymore in the weather. They don't do that anymore because we started looking and they started cutting that off right when we start looking at that stuff. They watch what you do on Google Earth. They watch. They know what you're doing. So anyways, they cut us off from this picture. We won't see it like this unless you go to a different weather site than I do. But there it is. There's the alignment of the lunar. This is the lunar South Pole, Schrodinger, and it's flipped backwards over the Earth. And this is the size. You can see that I don't have these too big. I might have it a little long this way, where India's stretched it a little bit long. But this is an absolute perfect fit. Look at the curve here. See the curve of the Himalayas here? You can see the curve of the Himalayas a little bit there. Everest, this would be like Everest would be right in the middle of this crater here. And if you look in India, right in this area, you'll see a big round circular spot. It's probably a mountain there and there's a crater on the moon or whatever, but you'll see it's about the same size as that crater right there in India. So let's go look at India and see if that's there. See that big circular pattern right there? Wow. Pretty big. See that? Right about in the same, right in the right place. I mean, I've had all these things line up perfectly throughout my time of doing these overlays. I'm just showing you the ones that show the basic outline of the patterns that are beyond questioning, because this pattern doesn't just show here in this area. Oh, by the way, they call this area of the Earth the third pole. So there you go. That's the third pole of the Earth, and here's the south pole of the moon. And also, this used to be the north pole of the Earth, or one of the poles, south or north, but we're thinking pretty much the north pole, this big circle that's in the, basically the Orient, if you look at it. But there's Badass. That's a perfect lunar South Pole pattern in the weather. The typhoon, the whole shape of it is there. And like, we could go look at it right now, and we can see if it's there right now, and I'm sure it will be. So there's another one. Okay, so there's that. And you will see in the weather, if you pay attention, I mean, you'll see Mare Oriental and you'll see Imbrium patterns. The patterns are all over the Earth. Every weather pattern, as I've explained, and nobody wants to even consider it, every single weather pattern on the Earth right now, today, this very day, at this very moment, today, right now, the weather over the Earth is showing lunar surface patterns. They're all of them. That's a lunar surface pattern right there. That is from the moon. That you can find this pattern on the moon backwards. Up here, see, they've downgraded the weather, so it's basically much more difficult to show you. But this up here, you'll find patterns occasionally that fit the moon perfectly. I mean, perfectly. All these patterns are all lunar patterns. This whole area here, it's a lunar surface pattern. This area here is a lunar surface pattern. This here is definitely, see, there's the lunar south pole pattern without the circle. They don't give us they cut us off from that. They won't give us the weather here on this program, on this site anymore. That's a lunar pattern, lunar surface pattern. All this is a lunar surface pattern. This is definitely a lunar surface pattern. The reason they cut us off from this part of Asia, because this whole area right here shows the lunar surface so beautifully. If they gave us all the weather here, we would be able to see it every day. I mean, this whole part of Asia right here shows a beautiful pattern, lunar south pole, all kinds of stuff right here. And then what do we have here? We have the Tunguska impact or whatever right in this area. It's a very magnetic area. This, like I said in the beginning of the video, that circular pattern, that's Schrodinger as well. That you can put Schrodinger, the one I just showed you by the lunar south pole, right here where the borders are, where I just pointed out, where the borders are up there in Siberia, or Russia, I mean. Turn on your borders, take a picture of the lunar south pole, flip it over, put Schrodinger right here. And the lunar south pole fits so perfect right here, it's unbelievable. It's just, but it fits perfect. And the weather pattern shows the exact same pattern of the lunar south pole right here. But they cut us off from that. They have cut us off. So, anyways, back to the weather here. But these are all lunar surface patterns, all of them. This here, that there, this here, all of it, all the weather. Whenever there's weather over North America, all these weather patterns will fit the moon if you flip the lunar surface over and overlay it over these patterns, different parts of the moon. So it shows basically that the different sizes of the moon have faced the Earth. It proves it. I mean, I've already proven it throughout the time of making my videos. I got so many videos that people do not watch on my channel. I don't know why they're not being watched. Maybe they're been put private or something. I don't know. It seems like I should be getting views on them, but I haven't seen any comments on any of them for a long time. Most of the comments I get are on videos that are like my most hated videos. They're the most popular videos and they're the most hated videos, but they're not. And they don't show the best, examples of what I have to show here. So let's move on to this one here. Is a good one, and I've recently just recently got this aligned perfect. I think it's perfect. And that is going to be, let's just do this one first. There we go. This is a beautiful North America alignment of the Mare Oriental Basin flipped over backwards. This is the east coast of North America, or the eastern half of the United States, is a big, giant magnetic area, basically, where you're gonna get a bunch of different moon patterns fit this area. Like Tycho will center out right here by the Great Lakes, and you'll see a weather pattern that'll show the V of Tycho and everything like that. Then here, the weather always shows this really well. Not always, but most of the time, the weather will always fit it when there's weather. See, there's not that much weather today over North America, so it's not going to show a whole lot. But you'll see at times you'll see this whole part filled in with weather just inside the circle. This is a proper alignment of this crater over, and it shows the moon to be big every time, consistent. Okay, so there's that. And then we have this one I was just talking about. Let's see if they have the weather on for us today over this spot, or if it's turned off. Huh? Oh, there we go. Okay, so they do have the weather turned on. A lot of times this strip of weather goes through Japan will be turned off, and you'll notice that on Google quite a bit. So there is a lot of weather here today. It should line up with my MO main impact overlay. Call it MO main impact, and this is a beautiful alignment of Mare Oriental over this spot. This is where it all starts, pretty much. It's a NASA image, a NASA drawing of the lunar, or the of the Mare Oriental crater. What they call it, a shaded relief, and it's from 1978, and I have it aligned over that circle. here's the weather fitting that. Here, let me turn the borders off so maybe you can see a little bit better. Now this weather fits inside here beautifully, but they really have downgraded weather to where it doesn't give us any really good details anymore, but that's, you know, there's nothing we can do about that. It's properly aligned and it shows it quite a bit. Sometimes this the weather here, you'll turn it on, it's downright spooky. Okay, so there's that. Let me just show you that without weather over this spot, how well aligned it is. It's very well aligned. Okay. Very well aligned. I mean, you can come down here to Papua New Guinea and you can see this line that comes through here. The same, there's like a ridge that goes right through. Look at that, right through there, Papua New Guinea. This is a beautiful alignment of this crater over the Earth. Very nice. Very, very nice. Turn the borders on, you can see how it fits like that. See that? That's a proper alignment. I mean, it's just common sense, basically, that the moon has these big craters. The Earth definitely has big circular patterns on it. People don't notice them, or maybe they don't care to notice them because they don't want to think about this or whatever. There's a lot of different things going on in my brain, and I'm sure other people's too, but it's common sense to me. It's the moon is right there, basically. You know, it's right there. It's evidence is there. Who do you go to? The first suspect would be the moon, to me. I mean, you say a planet hit the Earth to create the moon. Well, I'm going to look at the moon first. That's the first place I'm looking. I'm going to take the surface of the moon. I'm going to look there first because it's the only thing around that's close by that has any chance of hitting the Earth ever. And it being phase locked, like magnetically locked, where we only see one side, shows me that there's definitely a magnetic link between the Earth and the moon. There's definitely a magnetic link there. It's not because it holds itself right in that one place where it's the most magnetic. It can't turn because of that. I mean, they say it turns, but one way or another, but it always faces the Earth the same way. So that's just showing it's magnetically attracted to that spot on the moon. It's holding that position for some reason, but even though it goes around the Earth, it's still locked onto that spot on the moon. Our magnet in our Earth, all the way around, locks onto that one spot on the moon consistently. But it hasn't always. That's an important thing, is that it hasn't always been that way, because we have Mare Moscovians pattern in our weather showing all the time, lunar south pole pattern showing all the time, and the Mare Oriental pattern shown in our weather all the time. Those are all areas of the moon that we can no longer see from the Earth, but they're in the weather. And it's on the surface of the Earth, so they definitely faced the Earth before. Definitely. Had to. We have Mayan artifacts that show things, the same thing, the rabbit and all that. It just shows that. Anyways, I think I've made this video long already. Maybe when I get a little bit more focused on these greatest hits things, I'll do better. So I'll just end it here, and I got to get to work, turn my fan back on high and all that. Have a good day.